Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Do you have a goal, a vision? Is it something that you really want? Something that you're practicing thinking about, feeling about, and doing something about? And is it something that you believe is possible for you? There is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. I heard Bob Proctor say that several times, and his son Brian Proctor heard that all his life. Are you ready to receive what it is that you truly desire? It's not just a wish or a hope, but you're actually ready to receive it. There's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. The state of mind must be belief, not mere hope or wish. Open-mindedness is essential for belief. The first thing you want to do is get a picture in your mind of what you truly desire. But there's no denying that when you believe something, it just manifests in your life. Now, the problem is most people are running around imagining the worst that could happen or thinking about living their daily lives as a repeat of yesterday, of last week, of a year ago. And pretty soon, next year looks the same as last year. Nothing changes because most people just keep revolving around the same stories, thinking the same thoughts, and producing the same results. Lots of people have made vision boards, but it takes focusing on thinking about what you want as if you know it's already yours. You can eat, sleep, and breathe this beautiful goal until it manifests into physical reality. Think about if you've ever been truly in love with a person, they take up so much space in your head, you can barely eat, you can barely sleep, you can barely work because you're so in love. It's that kind of passion that you want to have for a particular thing or way of life or business goal or trip, whatever it is that you really want. You have to actually make it a magnificent obsession so that you're so in tune with it mentally, spiritually, and physically that it must show up in your life. If you're thinking about making a vision board, I would consider making it a piece of art, something that you hang on your wall with pride and you look at lovingly, and you just know that that's going to be your destination, your goal, your life. Some people think that vision boards don't work or they're childish or a waste of time. But when you go after something that you truly desire, a vision board just keeps it in front of you. It keeps it in the forefront of your mind. It's something that you know you want, but when it's right there in front of you, you see it often And one of our physical faculties is sight. So when you've got the picture right in front of you, whether you have it electronically on your desktop, on your screensaver, or as a beautiful piece of art on your wall, you can look at it and instantly your mind goes there. You don't want to be thinking about it as, oh, someday in the future, maybe if I get enough money. You don't want to be thinking about it as, well, that would be nice, but it'll never happen. Or feeling bad because it's not part of your life yet. You want it to be something that you're working towards. But when you look at the picture, you sit there and feel as if you're there already. You get totally involved, not only looking at it, but starting to feel every cell of your being reverberating with that beautiful picture, with what you truly desire. Whether it's being on a trip, maybe you have Europe or Australia or Hawaii or an Alaskan cruise in your mind. Just sit comfortably and imagine what that would look like, what it would feel like, how excited you are to be there. Maybe you start to bring in your other physical faculties. Maybe there's a smell and a taste associated with your goal. If you want a beautiful, expensive new sports car, you can smell the leather, you can feel the texture, you can hear the roar or the purr of the engine. If it's a trip, you can actually know what the water's going to sound like lapping up onto the shore, or waves coming in with a roar. You want to get so involved in your picture that it's a done deal. The universe knows exactly what you want. You've placed the order. Now you just sit back and relax and know that it's on its way. You're getting into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You know what it's going to be like. You've imagined it so often. You just know it's coming. You might not know when or how. You know why you want it and what it looks like. First, you must ask yourself, am I ready to receive? You must be in alignment with the vision. You must know that you are worthy of receiving. Whether it's a picture on a vision board or you've written it out, take some time to think about what you would like your life to look like and feel like. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. Instead, ask yourself the question, what do I want? What kind of experiences and physical things would I like to have in my life? What kind of a relationship would I like to have? What good would you like to share with the world? If you haven't yet done a vision board, you could find pictures in magazines or online. But make sure those pictures align with what you really want. They anchor those thoughts and desires in your mind, and they have to be images that stir emotions within you. Every time you look at your vision board with feeling with emotion, but the feeling as if you're there, getting into the picture and being there in your mind. People that really do this, that have images on their vision board that they get in harmony with, that believe that they're worthy of receiving, they've shown up in the person's life. And you can change pictures on your vision board if your desires change, but never remove a picture just because it hasn't yet been realized. Ask yourself a question. Am I willingly giving? Am I ready to receive? Giving and receiving are different expressions of the same flow of energy, and to work, they must work together. If you want more money, are you giving to charity? Are you giving to those less fortunate? Are you giving with a heart filled with love? Don't give to receive. Don't give expecting something back. Just give from your heart. You might give a sincere, merited compliment to another person. You might give of your time and talents freely to an organization. You might give help to someone who needs it. Giving and receiving work together. You don't want to be thinking selfishly of everything that you want. You want to share your money, share your time, share your talent, share your love. When you share, when you give freely, the universe rewards you exponentially. I'm going to tell a little story about the rewards of a vision, because Bob Proctor always talks about thoughts becoming things. And if you can see it in your mind, you will hold it in your hand. I'm going to tell a funny little story, a touching little story about his son, Brian Proctor. Brian says, in November 2016, my father was to be honored at Carnegie Hall in New York City for his long-time work in personal development, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I immediately booked my travel and flew in 2 days ahead of time to take in all the city has to offer. I had another motive for arriving early. I enjoy old collector cars, and I know of a specific showroom in the heart of New York City. This showroom has a reputation for featuring the finest there is to offer in collectible cars, and for selling these old cars in concours condition, which means that when a car is sold from there, it's as good as the day it rolled out of the factory. My dream car has always been an Austin Healey 3000. It's a car that has been on my vision board for many years. So on my first day in New York, I got up early and I took a long walk. I found my way to the showroom in Greenwich Village. When I arrived at the showroom late on my first morning in New York, the doors were locked and the lights were out. Normally, I would have turned around and left. However, I knew having this opportunity and standing in front of this door after so many years of having an Austin Healey on my vision board meant something to me. So I stayed. There was a small intercom button on the outside wall next to the door. I rang it to see if I would get an answer. To my surprise, someone answered immediately and said they were closed and the showroom was an appointment-only location. I told him that I'd been following the site online, that I was only in town for a few days. I was very interested in seeing what they had. He asked me to wait, saying I was lucky enough to have caught him because it was his day off and he had just stopped by to check something. He said, "I'll be right down to open the door." As I waited, I could see several cars through the window. I saw old Porsches, Ferraris, Jaguars, and other vehicles. Every one of them looked pristine. Then the lights came on and a young man came to the door and let me in. He introduced himself as Kyle. As soon as I walked into the showroom, my eyes landed on an Austin Healey 3000, exactly like what I had on my vision board. As I walked straight to it, I told Kyle I had been looking for one of these for many years. However, the hassle of restoring one had held me back. This car I was staring down at was perfect, and I mean perfect, as if it had just rolled off the assembly line. Now, the funny thing is, I have never even sat in an Austin Healey before. I had seen a few at car shows and always loved how they looked and sounded. This was the first time I had the opportunity to actually sit in one. It felt incredible. Immediately, I was able to see myself driving around Florida with the top down and the sunshine on my face, just as I had imagined so many times before. I knew this was the one. The car was a perfect 1962 model. It felt and looked like it was new. It was as if I had been transported back in time. The color was a gorgeous ivory white with black covers and wire wheels. Black coves and wire wheels. Kyle opened the hood and inside stood a motor so clean that you could eat off it. I sat in that car and let myself feel what it would be like to own it. I walked slowly around the car and took in the clean lines and its beauty. It was exactly what I had been envisioning for years. But as soon as we got into talking about the price, I instantly got uncomfortable. I felt sick. I kept a good poker face, but in my head, all I could hear was a low buzz. Finally, in a calm voice, I said it was far more than I was prepared to pay. I said I needed time to give it some thought. I took several pictures from every angle and then I walked out the door, saying I would be in touch with him later. I was vibrating as I started the long walk back to my hotel. I felt like this car was meant for me. That moment when what you've imagined manifests in physical form is surreal. That's exactly how I felt, like it was all a dream. As it just so happened, I was only a month shy of turning 55. Since I was young, the number 55 has been my favorite number. No significant reason. I just like how the number looked and sounded, and 55 became the number I chose for everything, including sports. So in my mind, I considered this a special birthday. I wanted my 55th birthday to be meaningful. I wanted to mark my 55th year in a way I would never forget. As my birthday approached, I had yet to come up with anything that would make this birthday different. So that day, as I was walking back to the hotel, I began thinking, what if I bought this car as a birthday gift to myself? And that would certainly be something that would make it unforgettable. The trouble was my paradigm. I was having a battle in my head over the asking price. In my mind, I was listing all the commitments and obligations for which I needed my cash reserves. Buying a car that would only be driven occasionally felt like a luxury I really couldn't afford. At that moment, I did the one thing I knew would make me uncomfortable and send me through the terror barrier. I sent pictures of the car to my dad, Bob Proctor, and I called him. He was the master at getting me to stretch way outside my comfort zone. As I spoke to him and told him what a unique car this was, he said, "Then you should go and buy it." I started listing all the reasons why I shouldn't do that. And then I said the one thing that put me across the line. I told Dad that I thought it would be a good thing to buy as a Christmas present to myself so I would never forget my 55th birthday. That was all I needed to say. In no uncertain terms, my father told me that I needed to stretch and find a way to make it work. He convinced me I deserved to treat myself well. And then he went on to talk about how most people have trouble treating themselves well and what a mistake that is. That was all I needed to hear. I called Kyle and said I would like to come back and negotiate a fair deal for the car. When I arrived, the lights were on and Kyle was ready to unlock the door and let me back in. We started to discuss the price, and he had the company owner get on a call with me. We talked for a few minutes and agreed on a price. Then, still feeling quite uncomfortable and sick to my stomach, I heard myself say, "I'm in." It was like an out-of-body experience with my paradigm screaming in my ear, "You can't do this." We went upstairs into the office and began writing up the agreement and discussing how the car would be shipped to my home in Florida. Afterwards, as I was walking back to the hotel, feeling both terrified and excited, I called Kyle and asked if he could please email me the British Heritage certificate on the car. He said he would do it right away and I would have it by the time I returned to my hotel room. As I mentioned, the car was a 1962 model. I was born on December 8th, 1961. When I received the email from Kyle and looked at the certificate, I nearly fell over. This car I had just purchased had begun production on December 8th, 1961, the day I was born. You can't make this kind of thing up. Call it what you will. I know I attracted this to me. It really drove home the impact of a vision board and how it assists you with getting into a specific vibrational frequency. I had spent years looking at a picture of this car, so having this happen was just a natural conclusion to the idea that had been my dream and on my vision board. What I love most about this story is that Dad never projected his personal thoughts about this purchase onto me. He was not remotely into collector cars and never would have done anything like this. He could have easily said to me, "Brian, that's crazy. Why would you want something like that?" It would have been very easy for him to squash my dream. Instead, he supported me. It brought him joy to see the joy it brought me. He encouraged me and took pleasure in seeing me treat myself well. Now, a car is just a simple example. Bob Proctor would support and encourage me toward anything that I wanted for my life. That constant support shaped my life. I always felt like I had his hand on my back. I can hear my father's voice flowing through me now when I encourage my kids to do whatever it takes to follow their dreams. Even when what they want makes no sense to me whatsoever, I can see it means something to them. Because of my experience, I know how my encouragement makes them feel, and it is a feeling of unconditional love. What do you have in your heart that you are so in love with, you desire, even if it makes no sense to anyone else? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. They might think you're crazy because it's not what they want. What do you truly want in your life? Is it an experience? Is it a trip? Is it building your own business? Is it quitting a job that's no longer serving you and going after a dream? Whether it's wanting a special someone to share your life, you can create a vision board, not of the person, not of a particular person, but what it would mean to you to be sharing your life with this person. Walking on a beach together, driving in your car together, sharing your dream home. Have you made room in your closet for another person's clothing? Is there room on your bed for someone to share with you? What kind of experiences would you have together? What does it feel like to feel loved and respected and cherished? You must do that for yourself. You must start to treat yourself as the most important person in the world. Treat yourself kindly. Treat yourself with love. Treat yourself with respect. And you will attract that in another person. The person that you fall in love with is ready to fall in love with you. So it doesn't matter if it's a loving relationship, a car, a dream home, a business. It doesn't matter what you desire. Imagine it, feel it. Maybe cut out some pictures that resonate with your heart's desire and keep them around you so that you can focus your beautiful, loving energy, what it would be like to be living in that vision board, in that dream that's in your mind, in your heart. Start feeling it in every cell of your being. And don't worry about the how. Write down what you want, collect pictures of it, keep it in the forefront of your mind as if it's already done. And then go on with your day. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7. Thank you.